Welcome to Celebrate Aging. I'm Vicki Marthaler, your hostess here on the Ecumen Detroit Lakes campus, and I'm also serve as the chaplain. And with me today is a wonderful part of ministry, Don Spitzley, who is representing Holy Rosary as an Emmaus minister. Is that right? Did
That's
I say
right.
that right?
You got it right.
Got it
There
right.
you go.
Star
Yep.
for me.
Big star.
So Don, tell me, what is an Emmaus minister?
Well, we use the term Emmaus minister for people who are prepared to go out and visit other people who are homebound or in nursing homes or those kind of things. So they make that connection just like Jesus made that connection with the apostles on their road to Emmaus.
Nice. Is that your phone?
Did you believe that?
I can believe that. We'll just let it
We
ring.
forgot to shut that off, of course. I can put my hand over it. That'll quiet it down a little bit at least. So, yeah, that's what the Emmaus ministry is all about, and I assist in that ministry also in running that at our parish. I help a little bit there. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Now, I know you regularly then come to Ecumen Detroit Lakes. You come to the campus,
Right.
and you visit the people here who have a Catholic background. And some of them have maybe not been in church for a long time because of their illness, because of their physical abilities, because of many different reasons. How do you reconnect with them?
Well, you just walk in and start talking mostly and pray that the Lord will be with you and help you make that connection. Most people are pretty willing to listen to you and to talk a little bit and to give you some of their background. And it's important not to be pushy or anything of that nature, but just to let them, come out of their shell by themselves and see where that leads you. And then it's no different than trusting in the Lord. You just trust in Him that He'll guide you and give you the words to say and help you to bring this person along whatever road He has planned for them. So, they're all here for a reason, and some of them are more difficult than others, and they're always very happy to see anybody, So
Well, I know the invitation is so important, and I have, in my experience here too, there are people who have been not going to church for a long time, and maybe they enjoy church, but again, because of their illness or disability, they're not able to, and they feel like, well, maybe I wouldn't be invited, maybe I wouldn't be welcomed anymore. They feel bad about it, and so it's nice to give that invitation to say, hey, you're always welcome. And I know that people need to hear that.
Yeah, they're always so pleased to know that there's still a connection that they can have.
Yes.
You don't always end up with a connection that you would prefer that they have, but you end up with a connection, and that's just God's hand at work there, as far as I'm concerned.
It is.
And so you just kind of let it roll and see what happens and trust in the Lord, and something then good comes out of it eventually.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I know that is a source of strength for people too. Oftentimes, if they're not sure that the Lord is with them and that the Lord is even watching over them because of, again, misconceptions or just time that has been passed, that to know that God is there and that He wants to bless them and be with them does give them a strength and brings them a measure of peace, and that is very important.
Yeah.
That measure of peace that we can't give in any other way, just to know that the Lord is with them and walking with them.
Yep.
I remember, and you've met her too, we had a resident here, her name was Florence, and she's
One of my
passed on.
favorites.
She's passed on to glory now, but when she first came, she was very disconnected from the church. She hadn't been in the church for a long, long time. And yet it was a little piece in her life that had been important. And as we visited and talked about, and I found out that she had this connection from way back when, I brought it to Odelia, who was then the Emmaus minister here, and she made a relationship with Florence and invited her to Mass, and eventually she did come, and the priest welcomed her, and there was just this flourishing in Florence, and she became a very faithful person at worship, and it had brought that connection, that strong connection, and blessed her in ways that we couldn't do any other way.
Yeah.
And then when Odelia retired as a Emmaus minister, you stepped in and continued
Yep.
that.
I followed her. She asked me to do the job here. I had been over here about a year at the time, and had been functioning strictly as an Emmaus minister then, and then when this came up, to just kind of take over the ministry of distributing communion here on Tuesdays and setting up the Mass on Fridays and getting people here. Those little services that we try to do to make things happen and to
Yes.
see that people have an opportunity to express their faith and to live their faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me about Florence, because you were with her in her last days, weren't
Oh
you?
yes, she was a very, very special lady. She, I suppose if we have time, I should probably tell the story of her age.
What was it?
Well, she would always say that you don't know how old I was. I would always say, how old are you? And she would never tell me. And so I had a friend that was traveling around, and I had found out through our conversations that her father was buried over in, I think it's Oakley, and that she was going to be buried next to him. So the assumption was that there would be a tombstone, and so I had him stop and found out where the tombstone was. And I had my friend stop in there one day, and I said, now if you can just drive in and check it out, and if you see the tombstone, take a picture and send it to me. And he did that, and it had her birthday on the tombstone.
You were such a detective.
So then every time she would say that I didn't know how old she was, I'd pull out this picture of the tombstone, which I carried with me always, and show her the picture of the tombstone. And then she would just sit there. You know how she liked to be grumpy. Look, how she wasn't grumpy. She wanted to appear grumpy.
Yes.
And then she'd get there, sit there like that, and then pretty soon she'd get this
Big smile.
little grin on her face, you know. And she'd hand it back, and that would be the end of it. And that would happen over and over again. And, well, to make a long story short, after she died, well, just before she died, she said, now, it said she was born in 1930, so she should have been 82. And she said, no. She said, I'm 92. Or is it 72? I didn't figure that out. Yeah, no, 82 and 92. Okay. She said, no, I'm 92. And I said, no, you're not. She said, yes, I am. And we'd go through that. Well, what happened was at her funeral, her relatives told us that the fact of the matter was that she deliberately had the wrong date put on her tombstone because she didn't want anybody to know how old she was. And so she was really 10 years older than what I thought. She was born in 1920, not 1930.
Women just don't like people to know their age.
No. So she won, and I'm sure she was sitting up in heaven chuckling, saying, there you go, Don. Yeah. Beautiful lady.
Well, we do appreciate your presence here, especially representing the church, and we thank you for the work that you do and the mission that you are called to. And I know I have called you at times when people are facing their last days, and you have been able to come and have those prayers and be present to the family as well, and I know that it is strength to them. So thank you for what you do.
You're welcome.
And,
I enjoy doing it, and it's very meaningful to me. I always get blessings back more than what I give out, I'm sure. And being with these people who don't have anybody to be with them when they're in their last hours and days is just a blessing that one can't describe. I mean, you just have to do it to know what it's all about.
To be a part of it, to have that experience.
Yeah.
So here at Emmanuel, we of course are concerned about your physical health and your mental health, but your spiritual health is important too. And Don is just one small piece that we have here on the Ecumen Detroit Lakes campus. And we want you to know that if you're feeling disconnected in any way, we're also here for you to minister to the soul that is yearning and looking for that purpose. So be blessed in body, in mind, and in spirit. And have a great day.